Hello, folks. It's me again, Amanda Enderman, your trusty tour guide in the wonders of the wonderful city, also known as Rio de Janeiro. And on this video, I'm going to talk about a subject which I promise you will be a very uplifting one because this time I'm talking about culture. I'm talking about the arts. I'm talking about cultural enrichment. And all this, well, I describe a pivotal event in the history of Rio, which was when Rio started actually developing culturally and becoming, at least in terms of appearance, an international looking city, following the international trends of the time, of course. And this was, roughly translating from Portuguese, the French artistic mission. Yes, here come the French again. But this time they were very, very welcome because they were bringing culture, they were bringing the arts, they were bringing all good things in life and what to this day is the best which France has to offer. As a matter of fact, I have been saying consistently along this series, and it is true, and I can't stress this enough, that the view that us Brazilians had of the French changed a lot along the centuries. We literally went from, oh, they're French, so they're invaders, out with you, to, oh, they're French, how chic. I want to learn French because I want to be fancy as well. And the beginning of this shift, it can be said, that happened with this very artistic mission. So let's hop on to the theme of the video. But before I do so, I would like to tell you something. I have news for you, and I'm actually quite excited about this news. As a matter of fact, I'm finally offering walking tours here in Rio, and you'll find them on my website, which I will leave the link for you in the description box below, so be sure to check that out. Everything in the site is available in Portuguese and in English so far, and there I have currently 3 tours to offer you guys. So I hope that I can receive you and show you the wonders of the wonderful city in person. So all the details are listed in the site, which is in the description box below. So that being said, without further ado, let's hop on to the theme of the video itself. So remember Dom João VI? Well, for those of you who are new to this channel, I talked about him a lot in the video welcoming the gentry in Rio, which I will leave the cards for you up here so that you can go there and see it if you like, and I hope you will. So he was always very much interested in the cultural development of Brazil. So much so that right from the moment that he arrived here, one of the first things that he did was to have the botanical gardens of Rio built. So if Rio has a botanical garden at all, it is because of Dom João VI. And another thing that he did, which I brought for you in this video, is that he had the São João Theater built. And here is the very theater which originally was called São João, which translates to St. John, as it was originally. And you may be wondering, but Amanda, does this theater still exist? Or, Amanda, I have already been to Rio and I don't remember. What theater was it? Could you show us? Right away. So this is the same theater nowadays. And not only that, he also ordered the Royal Library to be built here in Rio. And that was ordered by a decree signed by him in October 28, 1810. So you can see he arrived here in 1808, and in 1810 he was already ordering that a library, a royal library, be built over here. So you can see that that was a priority with him. About the library, I will make another video speaking specifically about the library, which will be in future in the Random Topics series, so stay tuned for that. And the reason for that is only because if I did that on this video, it would be too long of a video, so I prefer to talk about the Royal Library in a separate video. So once again, stay tuned. At the same time that Don Juan VI was prioritizing the cultural development of Rio, back in Europe, or to be more exact, back in France, Napoleon was there terrorizing Europe with the whole Napoleonic Wars thing and expanding his empire. And there was that whole polemic thing that he crowned himself, which was quite the scandal at the time. Oh boy. Of course, like all absolute monarchs or emperors or the like, he had a whole team of artists and sculptors and architects, which basically were in charge of promoting him. All was fine and dandy. These artists gained a lot of prestige. Of course, being on the side of the emperor, in an empire, you always get prestige. However, in 1814, the tables turned. He lost and he was exiled, and so whoever supported him before started being persecuted. And if you want to know more about this time in history when the tables turned in France and whoever supported him was persecuted and all of that, you can watch the classic movie The Count of Monte Cristo. And there are several versions of it which were filmed along several decades, so you can choose whichever one you like. So the group of artists which supported him was in a pickle. Because, well, now we're being persecuted, so oh my god, what do we do? And that was on one hand. And on the other hand, Don Juan VI right over here, aka the only man who was able to fool Napoleon, was wanting to develop Brazil culturally. So of course, Don Juan VI welcomed these artists over here. You need refuge, I need to develop my country culturally, so come on down. And quite literally, from north to south, actually. And come on down, they did. With this French artistic mission, which was run by this gentleman over here, which is none other than Jacques Le Breton. But you know, since he's French, you can say enchanté, monsieur. And he already had experience with administering things, because already in France, he administered the French Academy of Fine Arts. And another characteristic of the artists of the French artistic mission was that all of them, whether they were sculptors, whether they were painters, whether they were architects, they followed the latest trend in terms of art, which was the NeoClassic style. And of course, mind you, such a thing was also quite the scandal here in Brazil, because here in Brazil, up until this time, which was the beginning of the 19th century, the style of architecture that was the style of the day over here was still very much the Baroque and the Rococo styles. So, of course, a lot of people weren't so keen on this new artistic trend, shall we say, because they saw it as a cultural colonization. And right on this time in which Brazil had started separating from Portugal in a sense, because Dom João VI elevated Brazil to the category of United Kingdom with Portugal and the Algarve. So first they elevate us to United Kingdom, and then the French come and colonize us culturally. It was quite a controversial issue at the time. Anyways, you might be wondering, but Amanda, what are the styles that you mentioned? What is Baroque? What is Rococo? What is NeoClassic? I don't know the difference. So right now, I'm gonna explain this to you as well. Here comes the art history lesson bit of our video. Starting with the Baroque. First of all, for those who are feeling triggered by this painting, what I have to say to you is, welcome to the Baroque. It's safe to say that the very first artistic style whose paintings required trigger warnings was the Baroque, except there were no trigger warnings at the time. So it was like, if you're triggered, that's exactly what we intend. Because as you can see by this painting, you can see that, well, first of all, the emotions are all over the place. The people in the painting are not blasé at all. You can see by the expression on the face of the guy to the left, which is holding the twigs. He's not blasé at all. He's like, I'm gonna strike you. And this is the Baroque. It's emotional, it's dramatic, and it's supposed to trigger the person who is seeing it, or even the person who is reading. In the case of a Baroque poem, you get triggered, whether it's a good kind of trigger, whether you're ecstatic or you are like, or you're feeling uncomfortable. There is no in between with Baroque. There is no way of seeing something Baroque and remaining blasé. And another interesting characteristic of the Baroque is the contrast between dark and light. So you can see it in this painting. It's as if the models were all in a very dark room and someone put a spotlight only on them, and then with this dark room and a spotlight only on them, the painter painted the painting. Ended up being quite redundant, but yeah, and then the painter, painted. And another thing is the emphasis on suffering, especially on martyrdom and on religious themes, because you see, the Baroque was the artistic movement behind the Counter-Reformation, which was a political movement launched by the Catholic Church, which was, as the name suggests, against the Protestant Reformation. So they emphasized religious and biblical themes, and especially the suffering of Christ on the cross, and also the suffering of the martyrs. Moving on to the next style, which is the Rococo style. So you can now breathe a welcome sigh of relief. And before I forget, the name of this painting is The Triumph of Venice. It was painted by Toney, or Pompeo Girolamo Battoni, and it was painted in 1737. The first characteristic that you notice here of the Rococo is bringing back the themes from classic antiquity, from ancient Greece and ancient Rome. And also, the Rococo adds to this, bringing back the Renaissance. So even though this painting was done in 1737, it refers to a duke which ruled over Venice in the 1500s, and the arts which were brought to Venice by this duke at that time. So it's emphasizing something that happened in the 1500s, even though it was painted in the early 1700s. And another characteristic of the Rococo is that the emphasis on suffering has left the building. Now it's time to enjoy life. It's time to embrace the pleasure principle in all its forms. And in fact, not only did they embrace the pleasure principle in painting, you can see it's a lot more harmonious, it's a lot more even sensuous. The models are throwing off their clothes, they're showing more skin, no one is suffering here, quite the opposite, they're enjoying life, they're contemplating, and also the pleasure principle was adopted in music as well. In music, in architecture, in painting, in all of the arts that involve the Rococo style. The rich decoration is still there, just as there was rich decoration in the Baroque, and you can see the rich decoration in Baroque churches, for instance. However, in the Rococo, the paintings are more delicate and graceful and even feminine, whereas in the Baroque, as you can see, it's imposing, it's very masculine, it's aggressive in a way. Moving even further on, this painting over here is the painting that I chose to illustrate the NeoClassic style. This painting, by the way, is called The Death of Socrates. It was painted by Jacques-Louis David in 1787. Something that the Neoclassic has in common with the Rococo is the bringing back of themes of classic antiquity. You can see here that the theme being depicted is the death of Socrates, which was forced to commit suicide by drinking poison in ancient Greece. So here, there is no more pleasure principle, there is no more let's enjoy life and all of that. No, it's more sober. The chosen themes, they are more realistic. It's like, get real. And also, this is why the neoclassic style was very much the style of choice to depict political and historic themes as well, in order to promote what was considered politically correct at the time. No wonder that another painting of this time is the death of Mahat. Because, well, coincidence or not, the neoclassic came about at the same period as the French Revolution. So this style was also used to promote the ideals of the French Revolution, which were calm, reason, simplicity, and precision. The neoclassic paintings, they're basically photographs in high definition before cameras came along. And of course, as you can imagine, when this first came about and that there were no cameras for you to take instant pictures, this was revered because the realism with which it was painted was out of this world for the time. However, of course, further in time, when photography came about, this type of very realistically accurate painting was very, very much criticized because it became obsolete. People said, well, if you want an exact depiction of reality, just take a picture. We have cameras for that. But of course, at this time, it was absolutely revered because the neoclassic painters, they made sure to exactly depict every bone, every finger, every muscle, the way that it was in real life. And also, there is the characteristic of order, calm, sobriety, and all of that. Here, there is also a death being depicted. So it is a very sad time, of course, and you can see that his disciples and his friends, they are all suffering. They're sad because their beloved master is about to die. However, it's a more sober way of grieving. Not like, oh my God, he's dying, as it would be if it were a Baroque painting. And as you can see, going back to the Baroque painting, even though the model representing Jesus here is taking it even in a stoic way in this particular painting, but there are other sculptures and paintings of the Baroque where the subject which is suffering, you can see the suffering in his face, such as there's another painting from Caravaggio, incidentally, which is the sacrifice of Isaac, where Isaac, which is the person almost being sacrificed, you can see the suffering in his face. He's like, my father's gonna kill me. Almost literally, as a matter of fact. But even here, you can see that Jesus is suffering. He's agonizing and emotions are all over the place. Whereas in this painting, they're sad, but they're, shall we say, politely sad. And even Socrates, he's taking it like a trooper. He's like, there's logic, there's reason, he's debating, he's arguing, and you know what? Give me the poison here. Let's get this done with. This is the neoclassic for you guys. And now, bringing you the high point of today's video, I give you the artists of the French artistic mission. Starting with this gentleman over here, which is Gangi de Montigni. So Gangi de Montigni was an architect, and already in France, he was very outstanding as a student of architecture, so much so that he won a prize called the Prix de Rome. And with this prize, the winner of it would get to spend time in Rome studying the classical monuments. Just the thing if you want to be a neoclassic painter, right? Or an architect in this case. And his greatest project in France was redoing the Palace of Bellevue. And I'm not saying any bad words or anything, but I have to say, pardon my French, which is non-existent. I really don't speak French. So if I'm mispronouncing anything, I'm already saying I'm sorry. So anyways, the palace, of course, when he redid it, was under Napoleonic control, naturally. And in Brazil, he was responsible for the design of what at the time was the customs building. And this is it. This house exists to this day, and nowadays it is called the France Brazil House, roughly translating from Portuguese. And you can see that it is the textbook definition of neoclassic. The rich decoration has left the building and has given way to a more exact style with order, calm, reason, and simplicity. By the way, nowadays it is a museum and there are quite good art exhibits here. So if you're ever in Rio, apart from letting me guide you in the walking tour that I'm offering, I highly recommend that you visit this museum. And of course, from the outside you can't see it, but inside there are columns which very much resemble Greek and Roman columns as well. So the second artist that I have to present for you, my friends, is this gentleman over here, which is Nicolas Antoine Toney. Oh, by the way, if you would like to answer in a way when in Rome, you can say in French, enchanté, monsieur, since they are French, of course. So in 1805, back in France, he was chosen to depict Napoleon's campaigns in Germany. So he was very much a landscape artist. This was his specialty. And during the 5 years that he resided in Brazil, he left more than 30 landscapes from Rio alone painted. And among them, I have brought this one here to show you. So this over here is the Laguna Carioca, which is in the downtown area of Rio. And I have shown you this place in previous videos as well. And you can see that it is very much, as I said before, it's photography before there were cameras. It even went so far as to depict the Franciscan monks, as you can see here in the bottom right corner, looking at things, looking at the landscape. And in the background of the painting is the Guanabara Bay with one of the mountains of the Sugarloaf, the highest one, I should say. So, as you can see, neoclassic style for you guys. And here, this third one, he was called the heart and soul of the French artistic mission. My friends, this is none other than Monsieur Jean-Baptiste Debré. And here in Brazil, he contributed most of all, I should say, than the others, because his specialty was depicting the nobility, of course, but also the daily life in the city of Rio. And particularly this second theme was his favorite. And because of this, his paintings are basically an encyclopedia of what daily life in the early 1800s was like in the city of Rio. So, merci, monsieur. Thank you very much. In fact, I have brought this painting for you guys, and you can very much see this is the 15th of November square, which I also have shown in previous videos. And you can see it's very much as if someone were at the square and took a picture of the people, which were either passing by, going about their business, buying things, selling things. For instance, there's this guy sitting in the stairs right over here. He's talking to this dark-skinned woman, which clearly is selling things to him. So he's probably buying stuff from her. And right behind her, there's another dark-skinned woman also holding a tray, very likely selling stuff as well. And this was daily life in the city of Rio. And also in the right corner of the painting, you can see this guard, which is doing his job of, watching to see if there's any confusion and all of that, He's guarding the square. And this is what is done to this day. Different clothes, of course. But if you go to the 15th of November Square, you'll see policemen watching to see if anything happened. In fact, that's what they're supposed to do. And also here, and this is the funny bit, in the left corner of the painting, you have this guy which is diving right into the barrel of water in order to take a drink, and he must have been very thirsty because, let's face it must have been a hot day in the city of Rio, as the city of Rio has many hot days. So no wonder all of this heat oftentimes does work up a thirst. It's reality, my friends. So the guy is got his head in the barrel drinking water. So, folks, the reason why I have stopped with the slides is that, well, the slides are over, but there is yet another artist which I have to present to you. However, he must have been very shy, I take it, because I couldn't find a picture of him. Oh my goodness. He was a sculptor, and he was the brother of Nicolas Antoine Toney, which was called Auguste Marie Toney. And he was a sculptor and a teacher in the Brazilian arts school, which of course was also established with this artistic mission. And he left several sculptures, and also he was, along with Jean-Baptiste Debré and other artists, responsible for decorating the city of Rio for the crowning of Dom João VI as the king of the United Kingdom of Brazil, Portugal, and the Algarve. But I will talk about this in the next video of the series Rio the History. So also stay tuned for that. And my friends, this concludes this video about the French artistic mission, and I hope you liked it. And if you did like it, be sure to hit that subscribe button, then hit that notification bell so that every time a new video comes along, you will be duly notified. And then, most important of all, share this video with as many people as you possibly can so that each time more people may know of the wonders of the wonderful city. And as usual in this channel, I'll see you in the next video. Bye!